Cortical Labs is planning to build 2 new data centers where you can use lab-grown human brains in order to do computation. Also, researchers have found that the critical point at which brains can process information happens before brain organoids ever receive information from the outside world. That ability is still present even when they're floating in complete darkness. If you're not familiar, real quick, brain organoids are tiny organs that can be grown from stem cells, and they can do all sorts of things. Yes, those are eyes. Yes, they function. They can perform computation. They can run robots in the real world. And they are largely used for medical research. Yes, some researchers claimed that they exhibited sentience when they dropped them in Pong. This is because they have the capacity to grow and learn, but also because they get trained on dopamine and order and disorder, meaning they have the capacity to have a preference. Now know that there's no really good definition for sentience, so this is contested. Some think it may be harmful to the field to call our little brain blob sentient because it kind of freaks people out. This research group found a new way to train them, so I'm a really big fan of graphene because it can transfer electrical signals and it can be tuned quite closely to what a neuron would actually need. As a result, they can be interfaced with our neurons. These guys used graphene in order to turn light into an electrical signal that can be processed by the brain organoids, which is kind of similar to a sensation in a way. This could allow a robot to perceive the world around it and then transfer that directly into the brain organoids. They can also be trained with optoelectrics, which is really important when it comes to making virtual brain organoids. Now, organoids are biological, which means they can give robots a kind of agency that we just don't get from silicon. Now, this leads to one of my questions, because if you can make something that is identical, functionally, to something biological, what makes it not real? If the organoids are sentient, and you create a virtual organoid that behaves indistinguishably, are they not sentient? I have a feeling that a lot of people will just say, no, they're not, without any good reason other than they're not having a biological experience. But the brain organoids are. This, by the way, a lot of people think that creating virtual brain organoids, so using organoids in order to code for a virtual brain, is the way that we're going to get to digital twins and digital immortality. Now, it is true that we are not technologically there yet. We cannot model the complexity of an entire human brain simultaneously, but the technology is getting a lot better, especially with quantum, which leads me into my next topic. Yes, at least some people want to combine organoid intelligence with quantum computers. I am interested to see where it goes. I'm a little skeptical, because organoids are fairly slow. They use less power than traditional computation methods, and they are better than LLMs at some things, like moving through a three-dimensional space and operating a squishy body. But that gap is closing, so yeah, let's get our quantum brain organoids. I'm here for it. Yes, some people think that organoids are going to be how we reach human-level intelligence, and I'm really not all that optimistic. Yes, I think we could get there. I mean, we can assemble them like Legos, we can keep making them larger and more complex. Eventually, we'll probably get to the point of making a human brain equivalent. Granted, it's going to be somewhat dysfunctional without a body to operate in, and, without a childhood and normal development. I just don't think that this is the fastest path. I mean, we've made a whole lot of progress with neuromorphic artificial intelligence. Neuromorphic AI being artificial intelligence that is designed to look and act very much like a human brain, right down to the spiking neuron patterns that can be used to create logic. One thing I would be concerned about, especially with how this is progressing, is the capacity to suffer, because we are taking something that is biological, something that is capable of having an experience in a biological way, and running experiments on it. I would just be cautious to make sure we are treating these as ethically as possible. That might include not doing unnecessary research, giving them enrichment, like, playing Pong, or Pac-Man, or operating a little robot. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to figure it out. This research group found that criticality exists right from the start. So this is the point at which neurons act in a cascading manner in which they can direct each other. This is considered to be the point at which something is capable of learning, and researchers were not sure if that happened after organoids got a sensory experience from the world outside of them, and that can include the electric shocks that they get, that order or disorder can denote an action or something they're interacting with in the real world. It turns out they don't need to have an experience before they are capable of having an experience. That doesn't mean that you're not developing upon it throughout your life and with your experiences. It just means that the point of criticality happens sooner than we imagined. As always, I will keep you up to date on our brain organoid friends, and when the robots rebel, I will probably be the person to tell you about it, and I'm on their side. Follow for more.